total barn find.
It's the purple people eater.
And I think some of the red bled through on the purple. It was a really shoddy paint job. Hey folks, welcome back to their vlog. Ryan Wilson here, Predator Inc. And today I've got the conclusion, the finale to the barn find Hummer. Guy calls up and says, hey, I've got this Hummer. It's a 96 H1 Hummer. I'm in San Diego. I want to sell it. It doesn't run. It's all in pieces. I just don't have time for it anymore. So you want to come down and take a look? We're like, yeah, no problem. So I ran down there, took a look at it, and I was like, okay, the bones on this thing are really good. There's no rust, there's no corrosion. Interior is in excellent shape. All the pieces are there. So that's kind of what I was looking for. Now, the outside of the truck, that's a whole nother issue. The truck was purple. I mean, this thing was hideous. So let's take a look at some of the footage when it came in, because this thing is just hideous.
Customer said, hey, I got this truck. It's just been sitting in my backyard for years. You want to just come down and buy it? Total barn find.
I know the outside is kind of crazy. It's the purple people eater.
It used to be red.
Truck doesn't run. There's no belts on the engine.
This was a purple truck?
Yeah, this is a purple people eater. I think it's the official olive drab color pigment. Huge transformation. We've gone through, repainted the truck, ton of accessories going onto it, all the new suspension components going on, all new steering, ball joints, idler arm, pitman arm. We also have the 12K brakes right here, the upgraded half shafts right here. Come on over here, Jason. This thing was completely separating in the idler arm and the pitman arm. A ton of play up here. And you can see the Duramax engine in there. Okay, so we got into it and it had multiple layers of paint on there. Originally it was red and then it was painted purple. And I think some of the red bled through on the purple. It was a really shoddy paint job. There were areas that they just kind of taped around that they should have removed the parts. Like, for example, taking out the windshields, taking out all the glass, the seals, all that stuff needs to be removed properly and then painted. This one wasn't. This was like an Earl Shive special, which unfortunately, a lot of these trucks get that cheap paint job. It's something that you shouldn't be doing on these trucks. They're just, the value keeps on going up year after year. I mean, a lot of these trucks are pushing 100 grand for an average truck that used to be like 50 grand a few years ago. And I'm not gonna be surprised when those $100,000 trucks hit $200,000 and so on. It's all going up and it's warranted because it's such a limited vehicle. It's a hand-built collector's car. Value is only going up, and fortunately we were able to get our hands on this truck and it was in relatively good condition except for a horrible paint job, which we corrected, and then also a shoddy conversion on it too. So backing up here, the original owner on the truck went through, ripped out the original 6.5 turbo diesel engine, which is a relatively good engine. There's nothing per se that's too bad with the engine. There is a number 7, number 8 cylinder issue, is a limitation of about 100,000 miles, and that's where it kind of gets questionable as far as, is the engine gonna survive past that? Probably not too much longer. Very common failure on the engine, and that's where you have to replace it with another 6.5 turbo diesel or do a Duramax conversion, which a lot of our customers end up doing. The advantage with that is almost 3 times of power out of it, double the fuel economy. I mean, it's hands down the right choice for this truck. We got into this thing and someone put a 454 in there, which is just kind of a backwards way to go about it. The 454 output is less than the 6.5 turbo diesel. It's lethargic And on top of that, fuel economy is just horrible out of it. 454 in this truck is probably 8 to 10 miles per gallon versus a 6.5 turbo diesel at say 12 to maybe 14, depending on how the truck is set up, how you're driving the truck. So you just went backwards there on fuel economy and power output. In my opinion, isn't quite the same. It doesn't have any valid reason to go to the 454, but the customer went that way. It wasn't running, the belt was off, it had a misfire, hadn't been running for 5-6 years, so had some issues. So we're looking at it going, you know what, we're just gonna rip this engine out, we're gonna correct all the issues with it and get it up to our standards of a Duramax conversion. And about that time, somebody else called up and said, hey, I saw your vlog, I want that truck. I want you to build that truck up for me. I've always wanted a 4-door hardtop. And I said, okay, cool. We've already started the process. We're about halfway through the build, and it was gonna be a build for myself. And eventually Paul was talking to him and he's like, hey, I got an offer for that truck and it's sold, sorry. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Fortunately, we didn't start the paint job. We started the prep work on it. Customer went with olive drab green. So I was kind of skeptical about this color on here. I felt it kind of muted the truck down and lost some of the lines. But when we started getting the accessories on here and the color cured, it really just pops on this truck. It looks absolutely incredible and it's very fitting. The olive drab color on an H1 Hummer or Humvee works very well together, especially with all the black accessories. It turned out really, really nice. I'm definitely proud of what the guys did on this truck. One of the focal points on it is the D-ring brush guard. Massive, heavy duty construction, full wraparound design. It wraps over the hood as well. And it has 4 contact points, 2 that are integrated into the Viper winch bumper, which is down here, and then 2 up on the upper airlift hooks up here. A lot of the brush guards out there just have the 2 points with pins down here. It's kind of weak, they bend in a little bit. This thing is extremely strong. Got the Viper winch bumper. Now this is one of my favorites. I keep on saying it. Here's the reason why. When we designed this system, we designed it for the D-ring brush guard with hinging points down inside the winch bumper down here. So coming off of here, you've got a frame rail directly behind this forward mount, and we have full box steel construction going back, as well. All of this is boxed in, braced in on the inside as well, and then we have the shackle points here. Then they're integrated into the winch bumper, fully welded on the outside, the inside, and then another doubling plate that braces into the crossbar here that goes to the frame. So way over-engineered, extremely strong system. On that winch bumper, we also integrate the rigid or the Baja design lights. On this one, we went with the rigid lights. Customer wanted the rigid theme throughout the truck, so we went with the rigid lights here. And great fog lights, as well as off-road rock lights. Replaced the headlights with LED lights by Truck Lights. Great light combination on the truck. Really clean look. There's a few lights out there that are coming in from China that just look kind of gimmicky, lots of little circles and halos and crossbars and X pattern lights and just weird stuff. I think they're just trying way too hard, especially on such a high-end vehicle like this. This has a very classic, clean look to it. Then we have clear lights over here. So the whole theme is replacing all the factory lights with clear lights. So we have clear turn signals, clear running lights up here. They're all amber in the front, red in the back. All factory spec, factory DOT legal, but just has a very clean look to it. Got away from that 1970s like trailer light look that the Hummer kind of has. Technically, this truck was designed back in the 70s, and I think the first prototype was built in 1979 and then went into testing with the military. So a little bit of more history, didn't mean to get into that. Also have our direct flow hood scoop here. We cut out the airflow in the back half because oftentimes what happens is you get this Venturi effect here where you have high pressure coming in, creates a low pressure here, sucks the air out of the hood scoop area right here. So you have this air that's forcing in the front grille here, comes in up here, but then it leaks out back here. So this blocks that off, also scoops in air on the front half. So very effective. And then up to our light bar with a double stack design up here. He wanted to go with the double stack on the top to get a tremendous amount of light output, but then also a single row down here to retain visibility. So great strategy because If you put this double stack down here, what's gonna happen is it's gonna kind of hang out a little bit low. So you retains the factory visibility out of the truck. And then an offset snorkel right here. So everything's blacked out, texture black finish, texture black on the hood scoop, the winch bumper, just fits very, very well. And then over here, we have our FLIR system. FLIR stands for forward-looking infrared. And what that does is picks up heat signatures. This has a huge advantage over night vision. It picks up the body heat of anybody in front of you, but also deer and bushes. It gives you a lot of advantages that night vision doesn't have. So completely different system, very effective. Unfortunately, I can't show it off because we don't have a head unit in this truck. Getting into that, customer was a professional audio enthusiast, and he's like, hey, I want to tackle that part. Just pre-run all the wires, get it all set up for me, but I want to get in there and put in a head unit, and the speakers are like, all right, cool, no problem at all. So unfortunately, we can't show this off today, but it is wired into the dash, ready to go for him. All he has to do is plug it in once he puts in his head unit. Okay, so got the running lights on as well as the turn signal lights right here. These are actually rigid lights that we integrated into a full billet aluminum housing that picks up the factory bolt locations. It has a factory look to it. And best of all, if you're replacing this on an older truck that's not being painted, you have an impression on here from that factory bezel, your factory turn light here, and it covers that up. So real easy, simple modifications. But best of all, these are floodlights. So let me turn these on for you. So as you can see, rigid design, a dual purpose light. It has a tremendous amount of light output, definitely blinding. It's not gonna be as much as some of the other rigid lights that we have up here, but you can see all this floodlight that's coming out. It's the middle of the day right now. Best of all, these are factory light locations. You know, we're not really like throwing these massive lights onto a truck. You can actually get the best of both worlds in that you can retain your factory kind of look and feel and function, but you're also adding a tremendous amount of floodlight off to the side. So if you need to illuminate the side of your house, a campground, whatever you want to do, you've got that option right there. So really cool design. We've got it both sides, front and rear. Okay, let me go ahead and turn all the lights on so you can kind of see what we're doing here. So we've got our headlights on, the light bar light on, second light bar light on, lower grille light on, and the bumper rock lights. I don't have it running, so here pretty soon I would imagine we may get a little bit of flickering. That's gonna be normal when you have high consumption and you don't have a supply of power, but we're good right now. All right, so we're using something called Switch Pros to actually access all the different light functions. Really clean setup, very simple to utilize, and a lot of customization with it. I'll show you that in just a second. Now, finishing up the front of the truck, we've got our 20-inch Predator wheels. We manufacture these in-house. We've got the rock guards on here. These are our dual isolating quick disconnect CTIS lines on here. So the advantage with that is when you pop this guy off, it isolates the wheel on both sides. So what that means is the front of the truck and the rear of the truck are separate. These are connected on the front, the rear is connected separately on the rear. When you pop this off here, it isolates that side from this side, so then you can take the wheel off. Backing up to the original OEM Hummer, when you pop it off here and you take it off, it doesn't actually isolate that side. You have to disconnect this side and that side. It's an extra step. It's just a much cleaner design here. We're running the Gladiator X-Comp MT tires. Great running tire. We're very happy with these guys. Very aggressive mud terrain pattern. Now, moving to the side of the truck, we've got our full rocker panel protection. This goes underneath the truck. It's all steel construction, which gives a lot of strength to the side of the truck. So think of it as like an impact protection piece. It's protecting the bottom of the truck here as a rocker panel protection from like heavy rocks. If you're rock crawling, you can crawl across rocks. You actually put the whole side of the truck onto a rock and just grade it right across there. It's not gonna do any damage to the vehicle other than a scratch in the powder coat, not a big deal. But With this angular design here, you have a tremendous amount of strength on the side of the vehicle. So if you were to get into a side impact, someone hits you, T-bones you, it's gonna give a lot of strength. And we actually have a customer who got into an accident, semi-truck hit him. He was doing like 45, T-boned him, and he woke up in the hospital. His vehicle was actually in relatively good condition. This was bent in just a little bit of damage here. He testifies that it is because of the rocker panel protection. I couldn't say that, but I do know that if I've got my wife and kids in here, I'm definitely running these. So good choice with the rocker panel protection, a lot more strength from side impact. I mean, this thing is just a beast. This is our search and rescue roof rack. It has 3 mounts on here. They line up with structural points of the roof itself. So this roof, the radius of the roof is the strongest point. It's not a rain gutter or rain clamp design that mounts on the rain gutter and distributes all the weight on the rain gutter, which will eventually start to weaken and tear off of the roof. It's actually mounted on the radius of the roof, which is the strongest point. Secondarily, it has a structural part underneath the roof, which is this big cone-shaped mount right here, and right back here. So we're utilizing those locations to distribute the weight of the entire roof rack onto those points. On top of that, this is fully box steel construction. So the mounts themselves are 4 inches wide, extremely wide, total of like 36 square inches of roof rack foot right here. So you're distributing the load across the entire radius and also across the whole structural mount of the roof itself. And then it's fully welded, one-piece design. There's some other imposters out there try to knock off our stuff where they actually cut it right here and sleeve it and cut it here. The advantage there is you're gonna save $100 on shipping, but you've got a horrible design. You've got a bar that isn't straight across here that kind of goes up and down and all over the place. And then on top of that, when it starts to rust out, you have rust pouring out through these seams. Downside is shipping. If we are shipping it across the country or around the world, you're gonna pay more, unfortunately, but the difference is quality. And if you want quality, this is what you want. This thing is extremely strong. Then we also integrate a double mount J hook here. So again, 4 inches wide, distributing the load across here, 2 mounts up here. These are stainless steel, so they're not gonna rust out when you run the nuts down on them. So extremely strong design. We definitely take it above and beyond every chance we get. So let's go ahead and pop the hood and take a look at the engine. Oh, that's another advantage too. We have integrated stops down here in the winch bumper, so you don't have to worry about chipping the powder coat of the brush guard or the bumper. We also have our opening assist. So we are underneath the hood on this H1 Hummer. Got the LBZ Duramax diesel conversion along with the Allison 1000 6-speed transmission. The 6-speed transmission is a huge leap forward from the older 5-speed LOY transmission. Still Allison 1000, the difference is they added additional gear. At highway speeds is much improved over the 5-speed and drops your RPM by about 150, 200 RPM or so. So big difference right there having that 6-speed transmission. That is then mated to a selectable 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive transfer case that we do in-house. Now an H1 Hummer traditionally did not have 2-wheel drive. It had 4-wheel drive, or I should say all-wheel drive. But the 2-wheel drive setting in this truck makes a big difference. A little bit better fuel economy, also better drivability off-road too. With the power out of the Duramax, you can actually power it up, kick the rear end around as long as it's safe, and kind of traverse around tighter areas if you want to. The biggest thing is we have an additional heavy-duty cooling package up here. So the cooling packages on this truck is an aluminum radiator right down here, aluminum intercooler, a larger AC condenser right up here, and then we have the additional coolers up here. Now, one thing we're missing from the cooling stack is a transmission cooler. That is remote mounted underneath the truck in the back of the truck. It has its own shroud on there, its own fan, temperature sensor, so when it hits a specified temperature, it opens up, starts cooling the transmission down to keep it in line with the engine. Now, that makes a difference on its own, but we went a step further with the heavy-duty cooling package. We have a full shroud that wraps up and around the cooling stack. So when the hood comes down, it seals up around the cooling stack, allowing for all the air that comes in through the front grille to go through the cooling stack, as opposed to the original design, which has a lot of blow-by back up here, as well as off to the side. So we're just making it much more effective. Now that's one of the downsides to the H1 Hummer is the cooling system. It's a 45-degree radiator stack, meaning that it's sitting here like this. The airflow needs to come in like this, angle down, and then back out. So it's kind of have to do like a zigzag through there. So it's not as efficient as say like a Chevy truck or a traditional vehicle that has a radiator cooling stack standing upright. We're at a 45-degree angle. So we have to compensate for that with additional shrouding on there. We put an additional fan on the front, the electric fan. It also aids in stop and go traffic, or if you're on the trail where you have a lot of heat soak and you don't have a lot of airflow across the engine, having that fan up in the front forces that air over the condenser, so you're gonna have better air conditioning. It's gonna be cooler temps inside the cab. So a big improvement right from there. But as far as keeping the temps under control at highway speeds, it's really not gonna do that. It'll aid slightly, but not a whole lot. And then coming over to the switch pros right here, I mentioned that earlier, that controls all the lights. This is it right here. Really clean, sanitary wiring. I can really get behind the switch pros unit. Really nice, clean, solid state system. It just simply plugs in and you just really run the wires coming out of the switch pro to your various lights. It simplifies it just with this little package. So great upgrade, but on top of that, you can check out the Switch Pro display on the inside. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. All right guys, so we're on the back of the truck here. Biggest thing that's catching your eye is this winch bumper here. This is our search and rescue 16,500 pound winch bumper. I oftentimes get asked, why do you have a 16,500 pound winch in the bumper back here? It's really simple. We can and we do, so it's there. The whole winch bumper is obviously at an angle here. There's a number of reasons for that. First and foremost is it gives us a wider stance up here that you can sit on, step on, stand on it, access your roof rack, whatever you want to do, but it gives you a lot more flexibility with the surface here. It also narrows it down here, giving you a better departure angle. So let's say you're hung up on a rock, you're traversing over a big boulder, and as you come across that boulder, it could get caught up in the factory bumper, which hangs down fairly low. In addition to that, we have these plates mounted on here with flush mounted rigid lights. Gives you reverse lights or floodlights in the rear. We actually have them tied into the dash, the S-Pod. You flip on a switch and you've got floodlights coming out the rear. In addition to that, we have this hole open here as well as on the other side. I left them open so you can see what it looks like, but that gives us flexibility, or a customer, to add on a tire carrier over here, some type of jerry can cargo system on one of them, or both. You do a jerry can on one side, a tire carrier on the other. Ultimately, you have a lot of flexibility with that. And then it mounts on the backside in here. There is a cap that goes in place and covers that up. And then moving on, we have integrated shackles right here. And then of course, you can see the center area here. I actually like this design where it kind of protrudes out a little bit. Gives it kind of a different dimension to it. A lot more work goes into this to get that extra room in here for the 16,500 pound Warren winch, but the added benefit of having that extra room allows us to get that heavy duty winch in. It goes into an industrial grade winch. It's just massive. We have a new Haas Fairlead right over here. Billet aluminum, again, manufactured in-house right here. We have the Predator logo on the top, blacked out, so super subtle, but we have a little design feature integrated into this to kind of add some technology to it. So a simple Haas Fairlead, we actually integrated LED lights on the bottom side. It floods the light on top of the license plate, so you don't have to add on like a traditional light that kind of hangs out here and you can see it, it's all clean, and that wraps up the bumper. That's kind of the main focal point of the rear end of the truck. But the other thing you're noticing here is the search and rescue bed rack. This is a really cool feature because it adds a whole nother dimension as far as storage or cargo goes. So you have the roof rack up on the top, you can put a ton of cargo on, but you also have this basket style rack back here. One of the complaints that we had years ago with this design, well, not this design, but the prior design, you couldn't access the bed. So now we have this design. I've already pulled the pin out on the other side, and we have hydraulic lifters on either side, and it opens up so you have better access to the inside. We also have a roll top bed cover on top of here, so it locks out a lot of debris, mud, snow, all that type of stuff. You're gonna get a little bit of water in here because this whole thing is not watertight. The tailgate isn't watertight either, but it's gonna knock out a lot of that, keep it fairly clean on the inside of the bed, and also secure your load if you want to. So then it just drops back down and simply drop the pins in place. So super cool design for the hard tops as well as soft tops, and just gives you a lot more cargo space. So let's go ahead and jump on the inside of the truck now. Okay guys, we're inside the truck, and as you can see, super clean look to it. We retained all the factory original components, all the interior parts, and then just enhanced them. Fully stripped down all the panels, all the original panels were stripped down, material was taken off. That's a lot of work. But before we rewrap it, we actually put on foam, a very thin layer of foam on here, and it has a very soft feel to it. And the foam actually absorbs areas where the deviations of the extra material, like this double stitch design right here. Again, very clean look. Made a couple subtle changes. We took out the original vents, replaced them with round vents. Really gives kind of an up-to-date look, a newer look and feel and kind of function of it. The other advantage too is they're just much more robust than the old like 1970s style vents. So huge upgrade right there, really clean. Got the round vents all the way around. We've been doing that for quite a few years now. Most people go with the square vents, but again, that is an option. You can go with the round vents. It looks super clean in here. Next thing you're gonna notice is there's no stereo in here as well as speakers. So as I mentioned before, this customer was a professional stereo enthusiast, and that's one area is like, hey, get it back to me without a head unit, get it ready to go for me, but I want to put in my stereo inside of here. And it's something he definitely enjoys. So all the panels have been rewrapped in leather. There's no vinyl, there's no plastic in here. We did a suede headliner up here. So it has kind of a two-tone contrast. It's still black on black, but it has a different look, more of like a flat look versus like a satin look over here on the leather. We finalized a whole interior build out with custom wrap seats. So these are seats that Roy wraps in-house, just upstairs here. He does a lot of work to these seats to enhance them, to make them better than they were originally. One of the things that I mentioned before is he squares off these seats. It gives it more of a Hummer look to it. So he cuts it, remolds it, spends a lot of time remolding all of the seats so it has new foam. It's a lot firmer than 20-year-old foam, and cleans them all up. Really nice job. And then finalized it with a crosshatch pattern here, kind of a squared design on the inserts. And then to top that off, we brought in that olive drab green paint job into the inside. So all the stitching is like an olive drab green. Did a really good job. It has a very classy look to it. We also upgraded the truck with all new billet aluminum grab handles. So these are grab handles up here. The original ones are kind of a rubber material. They also have these little covers right here. They always fall out, they're gone, they're missing, and they just look and like scream like 1970s Dodge van grab handle. It's just, it looks horrible. So what we've done is we've recreated the factory mounting hole locations here and here into a billet aluminum design, something extremely sturdy and robust, but it's also a little bit wider, so something you can grab a hold of. And then we wrapped it with leather. So the center section from here to here is all leather. The reason for that is billet aluminum is gonna get either hot or cold. And in extreme temperatures, it's not gonna be very comfortable to grab a hold of this grab handle. But on top of that, we also did an A-pillar handle right here for him. So that's one of the upgrades that the Alpha did, the 2006 last model year H1 Hummer out there. There was a grab handle right here. They didn't actually put a grab handle up here, they just did it over here. And that makes sense, because when you're getting into a vehicle, you're not grabbing a hold of here and then kind of getting in this way. It's kind of an awkward feel to it. You're actually gonna grab a hold of it right here as you lean back to lift your leg in, and then you can get in. So this makes sense. And then finalize the dash area with a Momo steering wheel. Definitely one of my favorite steering wheels out there is the Momo. Nice grip to it. It's also a lot bigger than the factory one. That leather wrapped steering wheel feels like you're grabbing a piece of wire. The leather that's on there over years just starts to deteriorate and fall apart. Great upgrade right here. All right, so come on over here. I'm gonna show you the Banks Dash IQ, the HVAC system, as well as the Switch Pro's controller. Okay, so inside the truck, I wanted to point out a couple things. We've got the Banks Dash IQ over here. It gives us EGTs, pyrometer, boost gauge, access to trouble codes. If there's any type of check engine light, you can get in there, you can clear it, you can kind of see what's going on. Great little upgrade just right there. And then coming over here, we have the Switch Pros. unit. This is the control head right here. Very clean, very easy to install. You can put it pretty much anywhere you want to. And it's also not very obtrusive. It fits in a lot of locations. So you got all the controls right here, the different switches for your lights, and you can switch those out to virtually whatever you want to control. And then coming up here, we have our HVAC head unit. We relocated it from over here so we can get a doubled-in head unit in this location. And one of the main reasons for that, besides obviously having a larger display for your reverse camera, but also to have a larger display for the FLIR system. That forward-looking infrared can display right on this larger screen without any problem versus maybe a fold-out screen that impedes your HVAC vents up here. To do that, we need to relocate the HVAC controls over here. It also has an advantage because both the driver and the passenger can easily access the controls if you want to. So this customer opted to put the USB switches right here as well as on this side, but you could add additional USB switches or additional light switches in these locations right here or block them off. Lots of different flexibility here as far as options go. All right, folks, so definitely an amazing transformation, taking this ugly barn find truck, the Purple People Eater, into like seriously the next level, both interior, exterior, hands down. This is an amazing build. It looks incredible going down the road, and definitely proud of what our team here did on this truck. So it is getting shipped up to the customer in the next couple days. And until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Oh, hit the subscribe button down below and like button. And let us know what you think too. I really dig this color. I've never seen this color combination in a Kevlar olive drab finish with texture black paint on there. Everything's blacked out on the outside. Let us know what you think about that, because I think it looks insane, and I'll probably be doing more builds just like this in this color.